Are we calling in the light?
If you want to.
Well, I ask for the presence of the light, the traveler, Father, Mother, God, the Lord Jesus, to fill, surround, protect us and anything that comes through this interview for the highest good. Amen.
Thank you. So, your name is?
My name is Patti Rayner.
And before we move on, I'm Jesus Garcia. You were essentially my second mother.
Yes.
So we'll go into that. But can you explain to everybody what is the Hubbard and what is the Rayner? Are they related? This is what's going around in the movement. We need to know. And I came to the boss here. Can you explain this, please?
Yes, I will. Even though it is absolutely no one's business, but I will explain it. So, Joey, David, and Michael's father was Joe Hubbard. So, Hubbard is their birth last name. However, when JR became their father, he thought, because David was an actor, that he should have a different last name. And so I had married again. My last name was Rayner with an E-R. And so they picked Rayner without the E. Just the two of them together. I was so mad at them. And changed David's whole everything. Which, of course, was probably the reason why JR did it, to change everything.
Right. That's great. So talk to me when you first met JR.
I met JR I first heard of him in 1974. It was near the end of the year. Friends of mine that I had been in TM with, Bob Keeling, Kitty Keeling, they came to me and they said, we met this great teacher. His name is JR. Here's his picture. So they got me all kind of hooked in that way. And, they have seminars, blah, blah, blah. And so I went to a seminar. And because at that time, I think we were in TM. And
TM was run by Yogananda?
Maharishi Mahesh Yogi,
nice.
That guy. And we'd been in TM for quite some time. But he wasn't a real spiritual teacher. I mean, he was a spiritual man, but not the kind of teacher that I was looking for, who was a day-to-day.
Is this the Beatles guy?
Uh-huh.
I like that guy.
He's great. He was so
There's a great movie on him. Fantastic. Just came out. And it's the Beatles in India with him.
Oh.
It's about 2 hours of it.
Oh.
Beautiful.
He initiated us, all the boys and I. They were little, so they, got these different kinds of mantras. And so that kind of was a neat experience of a living teacher. And then right after that, and Kitty and Bob found JR, and I thought, well, I don't know, my kids are young, I have to be careful who I bring them to, and but I started those. We used to have to go to 3 live tape seminars before we could come to a live seminar. So I did that. Felt really at home. Knew I was at home.
Now I'm a tech freak. When you were listening to the tapes, were they reel-to-reel or cassette tapes?
The tapes at the live.
Yeah, you had to listen to 3 JR.
We had to go to 3 seminars, not listen to the tapes.
Okay.
But they were not live seminars.
Right, but were they tapes reel-to-reel or cassette?
In the world would I know?
Okay, sorry. All right, back to you. So you ended up you listened to 3 tapes and then went.
I can tell you the year, it was 1974 and 5. So then you can ask Now Productions about the tapes.
I will.
Thank you.
And at whose house was it?
At Prana.
At Prana. And how was that? Describe that. Didn't they just buy Prana, 73, something like that?
I don't know.
Okay, so
but that's where they were.
Good.
It was an ashram. Tons of people lived there. Seminars went on weekly, other events, and it was wonderful. I knew I was home, And I hadn't even, so JR isn't at those. It was just a tape. And then after 3 of those, then you were able to go to a live seminar.
Wow. And those were with the blue chair and him up on the little podium?
Yeah.
Nice.
And we most of us sat on the floor. And so I did my 3. So I did my 3. After that, went to JR, and then I thought, I'd like my kids to come. You know, I had to go a few times to see if it was something that I wanted to expose them to. And so, because we lived in Canoga Park, so they would have to come in on the bus. And I think they were like, let's see, in 1975, they would have been 13, 14, 15. Almost, not quite, but 12, 13, 14. So I had to think about them coming in on the bus and me meeting them and all of that, all those logistics. But actually it was fantastic because when they came, they got it immediately. JR, like, they were like his kids. He just was like, okay, thank you for bringing my boys to me. You can go now. You know, and it was just wonderful because they found home as well as I did. One of the things I would do at a JR seminar, we would always sit on the floor. And if there was anyone that I felt he needed, any of the 3 that he needed to deal with or talk with, or I was having challenges with, there were 2 things we did. I either took them into that room that he used to have, you know, off of the hallway in Prana was his office. I'd either just take them to the door and knock on the door, and then he would let them in and talk to them. Or if we were sitting on the floor, I would point over their head behind them who he needed to talk with. And then he'd call them up. You know, it was before the seminar, and they never could figure out how in the world he knew. They may not have even known till today.
And so your involvement, you started to work for the organizations. So not too long, Insight was created, 79?
Well, that would have been like 75-ish. And Insight's first seminar was 78. So through those years, I volunteered at MSIA. I stayed very active in the church. And then in 1978, Russell Bishop brought Insight to JR, and we had our first Insight seminar, and it was extraordinary for all of us. But I knew that I had to work for Insight. I knew that I was in the film industry. I had a great job. I just knew I had to work for Insight and that ministry that JR was doing. And so I started volunteering. Did you want me to go this far? Okay, so I started volunteering they were in Russell's bedroom. And then shortly...
Was this the garage that it started in?
It started in his bedroom, actually.
Nice.
And I never made it to his bedroom because by that time there was so much energy and so much going on that they got the 1619 Wilshire building, leased that for an Insight office. And so I started volunteering there. There was Candy, Anna Adler, Candy Simagran, who was not Simagran at the time. Candy, it'll come to us. Anna Adler, Yvonne Michelle, Ellen Holmes, and then I started, Catherine Hall, and Catherine and I were kind of volunteering and helping out. But I knew every day that I had to work for Insight, and I wasn't sure how, because JR kept telling me, no, we don't have any more spots. And I would say, well, it's okay. You don't have to pay me. I'll work. And he's like, no. So one day I came in to talk with him, and I said, I quit my job. And he was like, you what? I said, I quit my job because I have to be here. And he was just stunned. I had kids, I had a house, and he was like, he didn't know what to say. So he was like, I said, I'll just come. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I'm going to be fine. But I have to be here every day. And so it took, and I didn't actually expect to be hired, but he was so worried about my kids that I got hired very shortly after that and worked for Insight the next 20 years or so.
Wow. And around that time, I think I came around. I think I knew I met Dave. Well, I was stalking David because he was a big star by then, in the TV world at least. And then I wanted to be a teen star. And I ended up at Benedict Canyon, what I didn't know then is or was Lee's home.
Yes.
And I saw JR's photo on the mantle, and it was dressed in white suits, like a white suit. And I was like, well, I know this guy. But I was scared of the energy. I was like, oh, I can't be that loving. I didn't know what that was. But I did hang out with you at your place, and you fed me or something, or you did a seminar.
Well, we were doing Teens Insight seminars.
That's
by
right.
then. Mm-hmm.
Was that showing a JR video? After
Well,
people
there were
shared?
Insight seminars that were in Benedict Canyon at Lee's.
Yeah, I did that with David and Joey.
Right.
Then I came to your
And
house.
then my house, we were having Teen Insight seminars because we were trying to
That's what it was, yeah.
create that. JR had said no, they weren't going to work with kids. And I just kept bringing them to my house. And we kept having Teen Insight seminars talking about it. And then finally, there were so many kids that wanted it. JR and Rosa were like, oh, okay. We just had to do it. And it was incredible.
Wow. Yeah, and then I went to juvenile hall, and the rest is history. And then I did movies, and then I showed back at Insight 80, 85, 86. So then, but I would see David Rayner in acting classes.
Really?
So I was already on his level going, hey, well, he probably don't remember that. And then what I love about the other day Jeffrey was talking about is that you all of a sudden felt you needed to feed homeless or something like that while you were working in Insight. Can you take me there? What was that like?
Well, we were at the 1619 Wilshire Boulevard building, so we were right on the corner, right in, not up high in the bigger building, but we were right there. And I would just walk outside and up and down Wilshire on my lunch time just to get some exercise. However, it was right after Reagan closed all the mental health facilities and all of the organizations that cared for Vietnam vets coming back, people that just had no resources and had been used to being cared for, and then suddenly they're all out on the streets. This was later I discovered why all these people were suddenly on the streets. But on my lunch hour, when I'd walk up and down Wilshire, and I started seeing all of these young guys, and I would talk to them, or they had nothing, and I could tell they lived there, like they were there every day, same spot. And when we talked, I'd find out that they, what had happened. They had gotten kicked out of where they'd been taken care of. They had no money, they had no food. So I would give them my lunches or money that I had, and I just began to know them. However, that's the good news and the bad news, because then they would follow me back to 1619 Wilshire, where they would line up every day outside of dear Russell Bishop's office window. And they would start asking for the lady that had the food or the lady that had the money. And I would be so nervous, I just would give them anything in our fridge. I'd give them all my petty cash because I just wanted to take care of them but not have them linger. But that wasn't really the solution, because then more of them would show up every day. And I was so afraid that Russell just might think I was not listening to his requests. And then I'd get fired. So I called JR that's when I said to him, this is what's happening. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know what to do, but I'm going to get fired if I don't make some kind of change. And I'm just telling you in advance that if you see anything I could do different, or if Russell is going to fire me, that's why. And I understand it, but I can't stop it. And because, we had a business, and I knew that it couldn't go on like that. So I was just kind of giving him a heads up. And he said to me, Patti, if they come to us, we help them. And I was like, really? It's okay to do this? And he was like, yes. So that to me is where Heartfelt birthed. And, it was just the greatest gift he could have given me, because it was like, I wasn't doing anything wrong. It was okay to help these people that my heart knew needed help. And from that point on, I told Russell, well, I'll do whatever we're doing, I'll do it at night after we're done with the inside work. And people started coming. We'd make sack lunches. We would do little things that weren't too invasive in the office, but that would allow us to begin to address the need that was right there, just right there. It wasn't like, you could pretend it wasn't. And it was just the greatest thing in the world for JR to say that, that's what we do. Because that's what my heart said, but it wasn't really clear.
It's fantastic. So we'll jump around. So the one thing that I want to talk about is, like, can you, and some experiences with you are sacred. I'm not asking you to talk about those, but something that is anecdotal would be nice. Can you share any anecdotal experiences you had with JR, like calling him up and saying, hey, they're going to fire me, and then he says some nice things? Is there anything that you can share that is clear with you? Though there's a lot of people, the reason why I ask is there's a lot of people that didn't have experiences, that did not have physical contact with JR. They came after he passed. And for those that are coming, there's still people coming in for John and JR. So is there any experiences you want to share?
The thing about JR was that he saw everybody and he saw everything. And he cared about everybody in this church and on the planet, off the planet too. But the caring and the loving that he had wasn't, some people thought, oh, I wish I had more time with JR, or I wish I'd been able to ask him this. But he knew anyway. And he had the ability to help you where you were, to help anyone where they were, but in the silence. So my sense is that no one ever really knew unless they had specifically asked him. But as people, I think just his presence on the planet, number one, did that. But as people started coming into the movement and coming into Insight, and their lives changed and transformed, they might have had an opportunity to share with him in an Insight training or at a JR seminar or something like that. He didn't do anything halfway. So you brought something to him and it was done if you would let it go. And I think that's why Heartfelt lasted and is lasting 40 years at this point, because him saying, if they come to us, we help them, didn't mean the people I was finding on Wilshire Boulevard. It meant from now on. And that's what I experienced with him, whether it was a Heartfelt Service Project, whether it was Heart Reach and the people in our church, whether it was Katrina and groups of us going down to Louisiana.
I remember that.
To serve and bring assistance. It didn't, in every country you can name, that the movement serves in, he meant whoever comes to us, we help them.
Regardless of race, creed, color,
Situation, circumstance, environment. Absolutely.
And I'm experiencing the heart reach as I've seen a lot of our friends, elders, friends, also passing on or going to. The heart reach is critical. It's kind of interesting. I'm seeing different. Santa Barbara went through some things. I love to travel and kind of meet people and see how things are and put the light there. So I really appreciate how Heart Reach is doing it. I knew what Heartfelt was doing, but I love the Heart Reach as we're all getting older. It's a nice thing.
Heart Reach, is for the members of the church. And, we realize that, we're going out there to feed the homeless. We're going out there to visit the sick. We're going out there to do service, but we need it in this church as well. It needs to be established.
For sure.
And that's where Heart Reach came from, and that's where...
Would you know when Heart Reach started? JR was around for Heart Reach?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Do you remember any...
He was around. He definitely approved the different programs, because in Heart Reach we had Elder Reach, which is reaching out to our elders.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
What are you
or
up to?
Taking them grocery shopping, or coming to visit them if they're in the hospital. JR used to say, we don't send the light, we take the light.
Nice.
So it was that was like literally reaching into the need.
I love that.
And then Elder Reach was specifically helping our elders as they were becoming less able.
I do a lot of Elder Reach, and it's like, unmute the Zoom, unmute. That's Elder Reach for me. Just unmute. We want to hear you. The camera, turn the camera on. That's Elder Reach I help a lot of people on Zoom.
That's great.
So I also really appreciate how Zoom really brought us together, or the quarantine is like.
Yeah.
We
kept us together.
We can connect with people, and I have a WhatsApp group where we put people in the light. No politics, no nothing, no nonsense. Just like
it's a powerful
tool
thing that you've created.
Can you talk about JR doing the phone trees? How did that happen? Remember the phone thing?
Oh golly, I don't.
There was no internet, so it was like pick up the phone and call 20 people.
Well, and he also used to say, take the light.
Right.
Don't just send the light. Go to the hospital. Go to the bedside. Go. And that's really where...
And that's if it's a heartfelt response. Like, that's got to come from within, right? Not just because it's obligatory.
I don't know what it is. I know that he counseled us to take the light as opposed to just sending the light. And I've heard tapes where he went into detail about that sending the light is great. But if someone's ill, if someone's in the hospital, if someone is dying... How I took that, which is why we created programs specifically for those situations.
Circle of Light.
Circle of Light, Elder Reach, Heart Reach, so that it wasn't just heartfelt, which was out into the world.
Right.
It was bringing it back to the church and all of us serving one another.
That's beautiful. Was there any other inner things like those Elder Reach? That's the first time I hear that. Is there another inner something?
There was union of prayer communion.
Prayer communion.
And that meant we could either do it in person prayer communion, and we had once a month at the building those opportunities, or it was going to do prayer communion for someone.
Prayer communion could mean healing, or you're passing on prayer communion.
That's really just healing.
Staying
in the body.
And Circle of Light
is, JR used to talk about taking the light, not just sending the light.
I love that.
And so
Michael Fader said that about going to the Middle East. We're going to take the light. We're going to bring the light, not go over there and take.
Just send it.
Yeah.
And JR would say that too, and that's where Circle of Light came from, because when people began to transition in this church, it's one thing to send light to them, but we found that having people in the house, in the church, in the hospital, wherever it was,
I experienced
holding light.
I experienced that.
And we did it 24/7 until the person passed.
And another thing, a caveat in that is if they're open to it. So inflicting it on someone, it doesn't work for me. I've seen that where they want to be left alone. So then
yes,
you
of
send them a
course.
light from over there.
Yeah.
Especially relatives in the room.
Well, there's always they're first,
They're
and
first.
they always have to be considered.
Yeah.
But I never found a problem with just saying, our church is going to sit outside of the room or
Yeah, I agree.
in the living room or something. And then the funny part, I mean, it isn't funny, but I'll share it because it did get to be a little funny, is that if we started a circle of light for someone who was in transition, you kind of think it'll be
It gives them
24 hours or less.
gives them energy.
And I would have people who were there holding lights saying, how much longer is this person gonna live? They had a whole new, and then one day someone called and said, okay, he just walked down the stairs.
It's true.
So that is a wonderful service, but one never knows how long you'll be in service in that way. But the people that received it loved it, and the families loved it.
So you know who I'm flashing on is Nanny, the grandma. What was her name? Your mother?
My mother,
Yeah.
Jerry,
Jerry.
Nana. Mm-hmm.
Nana, and she was a minister initiate. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I just felt her here, and that's been my influence is her. And I had a little bit of Hubbard. I met Hubbard every now and then at the basketball games. So I just realized the influence.
Yeah.
My experience of JR a lot was food. Food was a key element. Can you talk about that with JR? And is
funny
he?
you said
By the way, that's a question that I ask everybody.
No, but
When did you first meet him? Give me some dates. And what about food? Did you have any food with him? Because things with him, food events. And that hence explains why I got fat, because we would go to JR was invited to everybody's home to eat everything. We were eating everything. So is there any great
that's
experience?
just so funny that you asked that, because this morning he told me to talk about soul food.
JR did? Nice.
Because he loved soul food. And when we came in the movement and I found out that he was going to some of those restaurants near Prana, I said to him, well, I can cook you guys soul food. I would love to. And so that became like a regular that I would
What
cook.
was his favorite dish, would you say?
Well, I couldn't tell because he ate everything, but I would always cook collard greens, sweet potatoes, macaroni and cheese or rice, greens, and then the meat would either be, certainly it wasn't pork, but it would be some kind of chicken, a baked chicken or something like that. But oh my gosh, it was like none of you, I don't think you were there yet at the
No, I
time,
wasn't.
but it would be he and Edgar and Michael and Wesley and
Oh my God.
who was the other one? Michael, Edgar, Wesley, and Phil Anthony.
Oh, got it.
And they would come over a lot, and we would have big soul food dinners and cornbread and blah, 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 blah. And JR ate everything.
Yeah.
Then we got to a place where we couldn't have onion, garlic, or pork. So then I had to actually change, what I could serve them.
Did JR tell you why? The onion and garlic?
I never asked why, actually. I think all I heard was he was allergic to onion and garlic. I don't know.
So, my first, as a staff guy with JR was, we're going to go to Austin, the South. And then he was like, we need to eat here. And it was the first time I had chicken fried steak, which is confusing to me because,
I would make that for him.
okay,
actually.
he loved that. There's
He
no
loved it,
chicken in
yeah.
it. It's a steak.
Yeah.
Breaded steak. Fried, right?
Yeah.
And then grits all up and down Florida. And he loved key lime pie. Can you talk to me about, and tell me if you say no, then we move on, and then I can edit that. But what's key is when John became the traveler, just before John became the traveler, without getting into politics, can you talk about how you got JR to go to Hawaii and be with the Hubbards? Joey told me a little bit about it.
Interesting.
You can skim over, but can you tell me how that happened? We all know it was a testing time, and John and JR go to Hawaii. What was that like?
Well, I had a timeshare thing, and suddenly I got this offer of having a 1 or 2 timeshare units at this beautiful place in Hawaii for hardly any money.
Nice.
And I couldn't figure it out. It's kind of like, wow. And I can have as many, it's like we could have as many as we wanted. And so first it was going to be Joey, me, Wayne, and Julia, Pepper. And I think that was it. And then I just got this hit to ask JR if he and the guys wanted to go because I could get another condo. So it was like he and John were really all that could go, or that that they said, well, we can go. So then we got another condo. And I think it was 7 days or something like that. And so we all ended up going, being in the same, right next door to each other. And I kept thinking, we were on, what island? It was...
Was it Maui? No.
No, it had, it was Kauai,
Oh, okay.
the real green one. And there was a beautiful mountain, like right behind where we were staying. And I kept looking at that mountain. I thought, there's something going on up there. I don't know what, but there is something going on up there. And I don't even know, I never think like that, but I just felt it. I got it. We were right there at the foot of it, all that. So I remember one day I was testing JR and I wanted to see if I could get a rise out of him. So I said, I've been sending my tone up to that mountain. It was so naughty of me. I don't know what possessed me, but I wanted to see his reaction. And he just immediately said, don't do that. And I said, okay. And I didn't, but I knew then something was going on. And I just, none of us could figure it all out. But there was something so sacred, so special, so unusual happening. And I just figured it was just something, there was a meaning going on up there, but it had nothing really, I knew the traveler had to be there physically, but otherwise I just could never have ever figured out what was happening until ages later. And that was when the keys were being passed.
Yeah, Joey tells a little bit about that.
Does he?
Yeah, that Jer was basically down for days. You couldn't see Jer, he was down meditating. But yeah, that was, Joey knows and so it was good to know that it was at a time where John will be the traveler. It was incredible. And I think it was 80,
powerful.
He got it in 88, so this would be 87 you guys went, December?
No, it was in 88.
It was in 88, so it'd be like January.
It was,
Because I saw him, we connected January at the relationship workshop with Mary and Ron Halnick, January 88.
well, I would have said that it was the end of 88, but I don't know.
No, he gets the keys in June of 88.
In June of 88?
This is the end of 87, sounds like. Yeah.
Okay. All I know is, oh no, that was Bora Bora.
Did you go to Bora Bora with John, Jer?
I don't know how all these trips are coming up. We were scheduled to go.
Wow.
And it was, going to be Joey. I think it was the same one of us that were going to Hawaii, but it was before Hawaii. And The reason I'm looking at the date is because my dad died in January of '89, and that's when we got back from Hawaii. And it was JR and, oh, I know what. It was going to be JR and Wayne, Julie, and me, Joey, and one or two of you guys. And then at the end of the year, like in December when we were supposed to go, we were going to get there on New Year's Day, JR got sick and he couldn't go.
I remember that.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And the rest of us, we went. And so that was it. That was not the Keys trip. It was another trip that was the Keys.
Wow. Well, is there anything else that you can come up with, or I think we're coming to the end. I think this is wonderful to take me into the life before my life of '88.
Well, I know that JR loved Heartfelt. He loved that work. He loved, obviously his church, but when he was given that vision of the hands that, who painted it?
Yeah.
It wasn't Meredith, it was our other person.
Well, it started with Muriel Ingalls, who took out the chain with, this was for her to know that he's her teacher. Took the praying hands. Was it Avalon?
Ingrid Avalon.
Yeah.
Had the vision after we had come up with the name and all of that. But,
wow.
But JR what I loved is, even though it was Insight and we had to use that facility, that he supported that service outside of the church, that service to take our light into the world in that way, not asking anything in return. And so it became such an outlet for everyone in this church. And I hope that it continues, because it was so selfless, and our church members were so happy to be able to take not just what people need to live, but to take the light along with that. And I just found every step of the way it was something so dear to JR, and each program that came to me to bring to JR was approved, whether it was Elder Reach, Union of Prayer Communion, Circle of Light, Heart Reach, all of those little derivatives of Heartfelt seemed very important to JR. And I can't speak for now. All I can say about now is that they're not active programs.
Who's now?
About today.
Oh, now.
This time.
Yeah.
And so it could be that their time is over and it was just for a particular period, or it's a call to everyone in this church to look at who are we serving? How are we serving? Not just individually, but as a church, if we are, if we have a foundation on this level.
Well, I think you still do the Christmas stuff, right? Toys and...
I think that Skylar made a good connection with one of the churches that we used to serve. And I know she tried to continue doing something for them. 30, 40 people.
Got it.
That's all I know.
So let's talk about you. You're doing the 3 H's, I call.
Hands and Hearts of Hope.
Talk about that.
Well,
because you're bringing your light out there. So what is this? H.
I thought I was retired and that I was done after 30-something years with Heartfelt. However, after a few years of not doing that, Spirit sent me an article, full article, pictures, everything, about the fact that 30% of California college students were homeless. And I didn't believe that. I thought that's not possible, not California. So I did the research, the reading, the background, and that is true. It's probably higher now. And And Spirit said, you have to go back. You have to put your light into this situation in any way that you can. Doesn't mean you're responsible, but, and I was like, oh Lord, I'm old. I don't have much.
Reframe that. You're young.
Well, I'm looking at chronological.
Mm.
So that was my first response. And then I thought, well, let me just see if anyone in my family would do this with me. And the one person that was able, time-wise and energy-wise, is Michael.
Mm.
So we built this beautiful kind of like, this is what we could do. It's a stabilization of homeless college students program. And so we created this. We have been doing some of it at Cerritos College and places that really need that help. We've been doing it pro bono because the need is so great, and often these places just don't have money. But we're at a point now that we just need more funding to reach more kids. So
how do they reach you if they're interested watching this?
Well, our email is PATTI, Patty, at hands, plural, hearts, plural, hope, singular.org. Michael, well, we better use mine because I don't remember his right in this moment. Or any of the family that people have emails for, they can contact and be in touch with me. I have seen the need.
Is there a website?
It's handsheartshope.org.
.org.
And the program that we just did for Cerritos College just took 30 kids and changed their lives.
Nice.
And so I know I have a proof of concept that it does work, that the need is there. Thank you for giving me that time.
Absolutely. Well, I love you, and I always end the interviews with something you'd like to tell JR. So into the camera if you'd like.
Oh, JR, I miss you physically. I love you spiritually, heartfeltly, and foreverly. And I thank you for all that you've taught me and all that you've supported me in being able to do in serving you and your heart and your work. And I am always, always here for you in every way. Thank you.
Thank you.